This is why people hate when you set boundaries. Number one, they benefit from your lack of boundaries. So there was a point where they had access to you, to your emotional labor, to your time, to your energy, all of that. And when you decide to set boundaries, it cuts that off. And that is why they hate it. It cuts off the dynamic that they had with you, and it causes them to lose the convenience they had to you or the control that they had over you. Number two, it forces them to reflect on their own behaviors. When you decide to set boundaries, it highlights how they may have overstepped any type of boundaries that you would have had, or how their behavior has been really selfish or one-sided. And in some cases, instead of self-reflecting, people will tend to try to put the blame on you, or they will get defensive. But ultimately, it's going to cause them to have to look at their behavior, because if you constantly put the same boundary up, if you enforce the boundary that you've set, it's going to start to allow them to see what is it that they're doing. They're going to try to figure out why are they putting this boundary up. So it's going to force them to self-reflect on their own behavior. Number three is that they may mistake boundaries for rejection. So especially if they have abandonment issues, or if they have unhealed wounds, unhealed trauma, they're going to take your boundary for rejection, and they're going to take it as a personal attack. This is why they don't like boundaries, because it becomes they start to feel like it's a character flaw on their end, and they'll take it as rejection. Even if it's just you keeping a healthy distance because you were trying to keep your own peace of mind, because you are trying to protect your energy, something that is extremely normal, they will take that as a personal attack and feel rejected by it. Number four is that they're used to the old you. So if you've always been a people pleaser, or you always made yourself available to them, and then you decide, I'm going to heal, I'm going to set boundaries, I'm going to take care of me first, I'm going to prioritize, whatever it is, right? That is going to change you. And they are going to miss the old version of you, the version that allowed them to have access over you, allowed them to manipulate, to control, whatever it is. And instead of celebrating the fact that you are now healing, or the fact that you are setting boundaries, or that you are prioritizing your mental health, your emotional health, whatever it is, they instead will start to shame you and start saying things like, oh, you think you better than us? Oh, you trying to change? You think you all that? Or they'll say things like, you've changed. And they'll say it with the undertone of, you are no longer the fun friend. You are no longer the person I can go to. But that's the whole purpose of healing. It does change you. It's kind of like a caterpillar going into the cocoon and coming out as a butterfly. You know, change is supposed to be good. We're all supposed to be able to adapt to change. But those who are dealing with rejection issues, abandonment issues, unhealed trauma, stuff like that, they will always take it as a negative. Number five, boundaries expose unhealthy dynamics in relationships. So when you start to set boundaries, you'll start to notice that the relationship was most likely one-sided. You'll start to see where the codependency is. You'll start to see where the manipulation comes from, and all of the toxicity. You'll start to notice that the moment you start to set boundaries. No is a complete sentence. The way that they respond to that no is going to be how you determine how your relationship dynamic was the entire time. Because by you setting boundaries should not make them feel any kind of way as far as, you know, like rejection or anything like that. You'll start to notice that they resort to anger. They'll resort to things like the silent treatment, shaming you, picking at you, trying to point you out in front of other people, or trying to make you feel like the villain or the bad guy in front of others, whatever it is, simply because they no longer have access or control over you the way they used to. Which kind of ties into number six. They can no longer manipulate you. When you set boundaries, the tools that they use, like manipulation, gaslighting, breadcrumbing, stuff like that, they can no longer use. They have to figure out how, now it's going to take work for them to figure out how to keep control over you, but it's not going to work because you have recognized what they're doing. You have now set boundaries. You're enforcing those boundaries every single time. Don't believe for one second that they're going to stop. They're going to keep coming at you. They're going to keep trying different ways. But as long as you continue to set those boundaries and enforce those boundaries, they can no longer use those type of toxic tactics to regain control over you. And number seven, they fear losing access access to you. So once you set those boundaries, they feel like you are now elevating. They feel like you are distancing yourself from them. They no longer have control over you. They no longer have that access to you. They no longer know what's going on in your life, any type of information. Even if they were just like a monitoring spirit, like they had a monitoring spirit on them that was allowing them to disperse information about you to other people through gossip or whatever, right? Now they are upset because they no longer have the ability to get that information from you because you have started setting boundaries. They hate that. They absolutely hate it because they need a way to gain access to you and you're no longer providing that for them. So whenever you start to set one boundary, they get upset with that. They start to fear that they are going to lose access over you, ultimately losing control over you, and they can start lashing out. They'll start to shame you. They'll try to, get into arguments. They'll try to make you to be the bad guy. They will even weaponize religion against you. For those who are believers, these people will even try to weaponize religion against you. They'll say things like, I thought you were a Christian. Christians don't do this. They'll start throwing scriptures out at you, stuff like that, just to try to shame and guilt trip you because of the fact that you have started to prioritize your peace over people. You started to prioritize your mental health over them. And you start to set boundaries. So this is absolutely why they hate boundaries. Always understand that boundaries is not betrayal. People will go around and try to play the victim role and try to act like you betrayed them and this person betrayed me. And really all they did was set boundaries. So keep in mind that people will try to go around and act like you've betrayed them when really you've just set boundaries for yourself. You have to make sure that you're setting boundaries so that you are keeping your sanity, so that you're not putting yourself in positions that is going to allow them to treat you any kind of way. I knew someone that was like this in my past, and for some reason, she never had time for me when I needed to talk to somebody or just wanted to hang out. But whenever she needed that time or when she needed to talk, I always made the space available for her. I always made time for her. And so I noticed that when we would come together, it was because she needed to talk. Somehow it turned around to where I'm talking to her and she just kept asking questions after question after question. And I'm just giving her these answers, not even realizing what was going on. After we would leave from each other, after we would separate, I never felt like I was empowered, encouraged, uplifted. I always felt drained. For some reason, I always felt drained. And I just, at the beginning, I kind of took it as, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to stop telling her so much. Maybe this, maybe she is, maybe she's shy. Maybe she doesn't. But I noticed that every single time we met up with each other, the same thing would happen. And I didn't realize it because the thing about it is that she was going through something. She was going through a divorce. So I didn't know if a lot of times she just really didn't want to give too much information or whatever. But I had known this person for like 6 years. Every time I needed somebody to talk to, she was not ever really available. But whenever she needed somebody to talk to, she would call me and I would make that time available for her. It's just that when we did meet up, it always somehow, I would ask her, hey, what's going on? What's up? She'll tell me a little bit of information. And then somehow she would start asking me questions about what was going on in my life. So I would tell her a little bit. And it got to where she would keep asking question after question after question. So I'm telling her. And by the end of our encounter, it ended up that I told her way more information than she ever told me, even though she was the one that wanted to meet up with me. And I made that time for her. At the end of every encounter, I always felt drained. I never felt like I was, like I bonded with her. I never felt like a load had been taken off of me. I just felt drained. And for some reason, something was telling me to stop meeting up with her. So I did. I set that boundary. I stopped meeting up with her. Every time she would call to want to meet up because she had something to talk about, I would make an excuse. I would just say, oh, and I'm really busy or I'm out of town or whatever. Eventually it died down to where she stopped calling me. The confirmation came when her now ex-husband out of nowhere reaches out to me out of nowhere, y'all, reaches out to me and says, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Do you want to catch up? Sir, why are you asking me this? So that was the confirmation where I realized, because something kept telling me, I said, I think she's telling her ex-husband stuff that I talked to her about. I think she is. I don't know, because they're going through a divorce. But see, they had a crazy narcissistic type relationship where she was trauma bonded to him. So my intuition was saying or telling me that I think that she's telling him information because he's asking her about it. He's asking her because a lot of times narcissistic people are deep rooted in insecurity and they just want to feel better about their own life. So they like to hear about other people's turmoil or trauma or whatever problems they got going on, issues. They just need something to talk about, something to spark the dopamine in their brain, whatever it is, right? And I think that her trauma bond to him was keeping her or causing her to keep giving him information about me and possibly other people too. It's just that every time I met with her, at the end of the conversations, I felt drained, way more drained than I did feeling good about the interactions. So when he reached out to me and said, hey, we need to catch up, he wasn't really that type of person we never had a relationship, a friendship or anything where it was like, hey, let's catch up. Sir, where is that coming from? So I didn't even respond to him. I just blocked him in my phone and I deleted it, and that was it. That was the end of that. And y'all, she never reached back out to me. He obviously couldn't reach back out to me, but he didn't try to reach out to me through anybody else. But it stopped all calls from her. And we went months by. Y'all, months by. And of course, I'm the one that is like, I feel so bad. I shouldn't have done that. So I reach out to her and I say, hey, I just want to apologize. I hadn't really been available and stuff. And she said, no, you're fine. It's okay. And I said, okay. And, we spoke a little bit about how her daughter or her kids were doing, how mine were doing. And it was all through text message. I still didn't want to talk to her, but it was through text message. And after that one day of us texting, she still never reached back out. And I'm pretty sure, a part of me feels like maybe she felt rejected or attacked, but it was a boundary that I had to set. And I told her, I said, I really needed to. The thing about it is that in the interactions that we had, I kept telling her about how I just want to get away. I just want to get away. I just want to get away. Everybody getting on my nerves, society getting on my nerves, family getting on my nerves, people getting on my nerves. I just want to get away. That is like a clue. That should have been a clue at least, but I don't think that she really cared. I honestly don't know what was going on in her head. All I know was that my discernment was kicking in. Something was telling me to stop dealing with this person, and I did. Since then, it has been, I want to say 7-8 months now. It has been about 7 or 8 months now, and she hasn't reached out to me not one time. And I think that was just God removing her from my life. And, the reality of it was that I always felt drained around her. Anyway, I say all that to say that boundaries are extremely important to protect your peace. When you feel like you need to set the boundary around certain people, just do it. You may not even have to ask the question of, why do I need to do this? Just do it. Just set the boundary and see how they respond to it. See how they react to it. And if it's negative, you did the right thing. If they applaud you or they celebrate the fact that you are taking your personal or your mental health serious, then you'll know that they are right for you, that they are good people and that they only want the best for you. So anyway, let me know in the comments if y'all have dealt with this, if you have any advice for anyone else, and I will talk to you later. Bye.